Hi YouTube, it's Kathy. Happy Vlogmas. So I just got home from a really long day at work and my first idea for a video was just filming me eating a bowl of leftover stuffing from our holiday dinner the other day as I watch other people's Vlogmas videos, but that seemed a little bit more lazy than I wanted to go. I started looking around my house at what I wanted to do and I fell on the Welcome to Night Vale novel and I really wanted to start reading it. And then I thought to myself, well, how could I make that into a video? And then I thought about reading it on a video, and nope, that's not my work, so I can't really do that. However, there was this one time that I finished writing a book in 24 days, so I'm gonna read you some of that. I've got it in 3 different colors. Mostly because this was the first copy. I found a bunch of editing errors, and then I changed the colors on it, found some more editing errors, and then finally this was actually the final cover. I liked this blue better than this blue, and there are still editing errors. Do not get me wrong, there are editing errors in here, but my protagonist wouldn't really care. Without any synopsis about what this book is about, I'm going to just start reading it and stop whenever I feel like it. Alright. The Andy Project by Kathy Trithardt. All characters and events in this publication are fictitious, and any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely luck and coincidence. If you see yourself in a character, it doesn't mean you are the same person, unless you are also fictional, which would make for a really fun tale. They say you can tell a lot about whether or not a book is going to be any good by reading the first sentence. The problem with that method is I don't know how to judge anything I write. For that matter, I don't know if I'm judging what other people write using a critical eye, either. I usually just read the piece all the way through and decide how it made me feel. Maybe my lack of eye for what is considered good or bad is what has held me back in the past. It would probably be easier to toss out lots of different reasons why this is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm not putting too much focus in one place, as I believe I would be doing so erroneously. I might be getting ahead of myself. I'm not entirely sure how this process is supposed to happen, besides the notion that I'm meant to keep writing, and to do that, I need to begin. I guess this is as good a start as any. At least, taking a running leap into writing is what my therapist recommended, and I believe I'm ready to give this a try. The worst thing that will happen is I spend a lot of time making something that will eventually be used as fire starter, if it's ever printed, and doesn't just remain a digital file on my laptop. Although it seems strange to introduce myself to what is essentially just myself, I'm going to do it anyway. I have no one in my life that will likely have any interest in reading this. I'm not writing for an audience outside of my own mind. Introductions come at the beginning, so I just want to be clear. I'm Andy. My name isn't even technically Andrew, like most people named Andy. Just Andy. I looked it up once and it means manly, which makes me picture a rugged woodsman bringing home something he hunted himself. Manly has brought forth mental images of tough, outdoorsy, bearded men who enjoy hearty foods and mugs of ale. I don't even really like camping all that much, let alone mugs of anything stronger than coffee, and I look terrible when I neglect my shaving routine. Perhaps when my parents were deciding how to name me, they envisioned that I would be a fun-loving, outgoing superstar implied by the shortened nickname. I've met several other Andys, and they seem to have fit this pattern better than I ever have. Evidently, my parents decided to skip the stoic manifestations of being called Andrew in order to thrust me into a fun personality type. Andrew sounds more dignified and professional than the shortened counterpart. Ironically, Andrew probably suits how people think about me better than my actual name, but I like Andy anyway. I've grown pretty used to my name, as people tend to do. I don't walk around with a snooty nose in the air, but I do get a hell of a lot of work done. Before I come off as a complete bore, it's important to note that I do like to have fun. I just do it on a much smaller scale than the stereotype with which I have become familiar for someone called Andy. It is amazing how many people ultimately assume that I want to party until they learn what I do for a living. Finance. Yes, it is as boring as it sounds, but somebody has to do it. It also pays pretty decently and is dependable work, so I've stuck to it because it's easy for me. I have no problem working through numbers. The problem is that I gave up the dream of one day creating something with words instead of numbers long ago. What is harder is admitting that problem is actually following through with this dream, years later, of creating something outside of me that is tangible and worth existing. It is hard to get started on something that I place so high on a pedestal. If I start but then never finish writing at least one novel, I'll feel like I failed and the dream dies. The terrifying paradox is that if I never try, I never have the chance to have done it. So that's the first couple pages of a book I wrote in 24 days back in 2013? Yes, November 2013, as part of National Novel Writing Month. If you're interested, the Andy Project is available all over Amazon. My heat just turned on while I was trying to talk, how rude. You can also just take the title and my name to your local bookstore and they should be able to order the book in for you. Have you ever dreamed about writing a book? Tell me about it in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have friends who like to read books, share this video. And of course, you can always subscribe for more content from me. Happy Vlogmas!